Thank you.
We're just here, like I talked to you on the phone, interested in that Andratio case.
Okay, first off, the chief sitting right there.
Were you here when that happened?
Is it okay to discuss this Andratio case, chief?
With me, we have a meeting at 2:30, though, you can run that one.
Yes, sir.
So you weren't the chief. When did you come on?
June the 14th.
Okay, and that happened, what is it, February of 14, so.
James Lee was the chief then.
Okay.
James Lee.
Yeah.
Okay. But,
So do you even know the case?
I read it, looked over it.
Yeah. Okay.
but anyway, I'm all ears. What can I do for you?
Well, we're just interested in, I guess the current status is what on that case? Is it,
Last I heard of it, it was presented to the grand jury here by the Attorney General's office. The person, Gypsy Ward, that presented it, and they didn't get an indictment. So that's the last I heard of it.
okay. Well, you know, reviewing the case myself, and, you know, I wasn't here on the scene. I didn't conduct the investigation. You know, I've got a pretty deep forensic background. So it just kind of, to me, it looked like it was, you know, there's a lot of questions about the ruling of suicide as opposed to either undetermined or homicide.
Well, if you want to get to that part, then I'm sure you'd have to talk to James Lee, the chief here, because he was the one calling the decisions at that time. I wasn't at the scene.
Was it, so it was called suicide immediately?
The chief at the scene told him, the people working the scene, that it was an obvious suicide to wrap it up and leave.
Okay. Not knowing the protocol here and the leadership system, is that generally how it operates if the chief says?
Nothing's how it operates when James Lee was here.
Okay.
That's why he was here for about a year and he was gone.
Does that cause, well, I know you investigated it.
I did
at a later
work.
time.
I did work on it later on.
And how did you get involved in it?
I was directed to work on it by the chief of police.
A new chief. Okay.
Was that you?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Well, I may turn this way and have you in my back.
Well, is there any? Do you know what the future of the case may hold?
Well, you done had
From a-
two state agencies look at it. You've had me look at it. You've had a special investigator that works here look at it. According to the district attorney, unless there is something new that develops, you know, that's it. The only way it can be presented to the grand jury again is if something new were to develop. Then it could be brought before them again and she would consider it. But unless there's some new evidence comes up, it's done.
Okay. You know, it looks like the scene, to me, looking at the body, the position of the body, upon the time he was found, position of the gun, placement of the gun, hole in the wall, it looked like it was, to me, I would not have, again, I'm not there, I'm just looking at playing armchair quarterback. I find it very difficult to see a scenario where Christian would have shot himself and ending
What
up in that
scenario are you
position.
seeing?
I'm seeing that he was either sitting on the toilet,
He was sitting on the toilet.
um,
And he had a gun in his right hand pointing at his own head. He was there.
I'm looking at a scenario where I'm looking at the evidence. I'm looking at there's a hole by the light fixture. I'm looking at
The hole by the light switch.
like by the light
Hit
switch.
the
as well.
stud, bounced off, landed back in the
In
tub.
the tub, correct.
So I'm with you on that.
Did he fall over and land in that position
No,
with his hands way back?
no,
So I'm thinking other people could have been involved.
surely.
That there were two people in the apartment, at least two.
Well, supposedly there were one at the time of shot.
There
If
was
you go by
one,
the case
possibly
report.
two, maybe even a third.
Well, I don't know about the third, but I know about the two.
Okay, Whitley was there.
hmm
The question is, was Dylan there, or he says he had left to go I guess, to Best Buy. So the scenario is, I mean, it's, I guess there's a lot of different ways you can cut this.
Okay, how you cutting it?
Well, what I'm saying is that personally, I feel that with the GSR on the hands, and I know how GSR, it's not 100% indicative of, someone shooting a handgun, but it's a strong piece of evidence, needless to say, on Whitley's hands, on Christian's hand as well, but also on Dylan's hands. I just look at either, someone may have gotten involved in fired the gun or tried to take it away from them, struggling over the weapon.
I don't know if they're struggling. I feel like somebody reached to try to get it. They'd already did that earlier in the evening and got it back. Then they turn around and give him back a loaded gun, and they ended up shot in the head. Was there a struggle? I don't know if it was a struggle or not. Was it in his hand? I have no doubt about that. Was the scene altered? I have no doubt about that.
How do you think the scene was altered?
I think once he was shot in the head, he was pulled over in the tub, and that's where he was originally shot. It was cleaned up, and that's how it was. I think perhaps somebody took the wallet out of the pocket, and the same somebody's down at the credit union trying to use his bank card to get his money out of the bank. That's what I think. What do you think?
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I'm even with you on the potential struggle scenario.
I don't know about struggle, but I know somebody tried to get the gun and then it went off. I know it was a contact wound to his head. I know the way he's sitting on that toilet that the gun was a contact wound. Unless somebody shoots a pistol upside down, the only natural place for that gun was in his hand pointing at his head.
Yeah. And then we have the defect in the wall by the light switch.
Well, it's in perfect line with the wound going in, the wound coming out, where it hit the wall, where it bounced back in the tub.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a given. He was sitting on the toilet, he had the gun to his head, and it went off. Did it just go off? I doubt it. I think they tried to get it from him earlier before and it worked. They give it back to him. They're going to get it back this time, and it went off.
So is that I don't know what the law is here or what the penal code says in regards to.
I saw manslaughter by culpable negligence is what I saw.
Okay.
But my I saw never got to the grand jury. So,
given the fact that you're a seasoned veteran investigator, I find it very hard to believe that a grand jury would not indict in this particular case.
you go over and pull the records. I never got to appear before a grand jury.
And why was that?
Because the district attorney, Bilbo Mitchell, decided otherwise. He sent it to the attorney general's office over here and let them prepare it and present it.
Well, not being here, not knowing the politics, but to me that sounds like he recused himself or shifted the authority to another.
Either that or he recused me, one or the other. He didn't like the conclusion I come up with, so he, just before time to go to the grand jury, he lateraled it off to the AG's office to an investigator over there.
Is that common practice here for Bilbo to do that? Or was that
Common practice? I mean, he done the same thing many times before. I can't say that. Why he chose to do it, I don't know. You'd have to talk to him. I wanted my time in front of the grand jury. I never got it.
How long did you spend on this case?
Quite a while.
So
And there's another investigator here before me. He worked on it quite a while.
Who was that?
Jerry Brattooth.
Brad too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I've been in similar situations where you work hard, you want justice, you turn over every rock, and nothing happens. And you know darn well something should have happened.
Have you read the case file?
So it's frustrating. What's that?
Have you read the case file?
I have not.
It'd be some interesting reading for you if you get access to it.
How can we get access?
I can't allow that. That would come from either the district attorney or the man sitting over there. The last I saw that case file, the attorney general still has it.
What about 911 calls?
It's all in the case file. The Attorney General's office has got it.
So
I
if
mean,
we wanted to get our hands on 911, is that even possible, doable?
I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I know the case file is there. I know all that stuff is in it. How you get it from the AG's office, I don't know. The district attorney, he's gone now. He's not there anymore. There's a new one that replaced him that got appointed to finish out his term.
Appointed as opposed to elected?
Right, he left before his term was over, so she got appointed, and she'll be there until this election comes up here very shortly, like November, I believe.
Okay.
And then it may be her, it may be somebody else. But as far as getting access to that case, their office gave it to the Attorney General's office, and they have it after the grand jury's over. I hadn't seen the case file back here.
So what is the process that we must follow, Chief, to try to gain access to that?
I would contact the AG's office if we don't have it anymore.
Her name's Cassie Coleman, the DA here, and the investigator is Gypsy Ward.
Gypsy Ward.
Mm-hmm.
I got it now.
Gypsy Ward.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask your opinion on this. So I take it you probably were disappointed at the results of the grand jury?
Well, I wish I'd have had my time in front of the grand jury. I did a lot of work on that case to not even get in front of a grand jury, but, you know, they all don't go like I want them to go.
Sure, I understand that. So when you say you did a lot of work, can you just describe what all
I
that
started off with the
involved?
case, everything that was there, and I came through the whole case from square one. I did do some interviews. Of course, Swearinger and Whitley don't want to be interviewed. They done been pursued. They're not going to talk to anybody.
What about crime scene processing, evidence?
The scene was done by the people that was there at that time. They put their information in the case file, and then the Androcchios hired Knox and Associates out of Florida to come do another crime scene processing. But I wasn't involved in that. I didn't get to.
Okay.
I've never talked to those people. I'd like to, like I've told you, I would like to meet with them. I'd like to see what they came up with that they think happened, and I'd like to compare it with what I think happened.
I haven't talked to them, but I've seen their notes.
Mm-hmm.
They have the conclusion in their they have a different scenario.
What's their,
Well, I don't.
of course, the NBA got another scenario. So what's their scenario?
They don't put them on the toilet, but they don't. I don't think they can nail anything down other than the fact that it did not appear to be self-inflicted. Given
Well,
position
for
of the body,
one,
the gun,
for
decocking
one,
the gun.
how could he be anywhere except on the toilet? As far as whether the gun was decocked or not, that's a whole nother story. But how could it be anything except self-inflicted? Was somebody standing in the bathtub holding a pistol upside down and shot him in the head? Was they standing in front of him holding it upside down and shot it in the head? The only natural way you can hold that gun, got one right here. Have you seen the wound to the side of his head? This is a toy gun. It's not real. It's not loaded. It's not anything. But you got what is a guide rod like on most guns. Well, have you seen the photos of Androcchio?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen where the gun rod is?
Yes.
It's turned up like this. Okay. Are you going to stand in front of him and hold the gun like this? Are you going to stand in the bathtub and hold the gun like this? Or are you going to sit on that toilet and point it to your head like that? There's the guide rod, just like the picture. So how can anybody else have the gun?
Yeah.
It's just like this. How could the Knox people come up with anything other than he had the gun?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a contact wound. The guide rod's here. It's turned up like that.
Yeah.
Now, if it's like this, it could have been somebody's bathtub. It could have been somebody like this. But if it's turned like this, that's the only way that gun can be like that.
Okay.
I mean, I'd be glad to argue that with anybody. Knox.
No,
anybody.
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I support that.
Oh, yeah? So he's sitting there holding it like this. Just like they described him earlier. They talked him out of the gun earlier. Of course, Swearinger said he had to leave, so they give him a loaded gun back. There's your manslaughter by culpable negligence. You knew his mental state. You knew what he was trying to do. You give him a loaded gun back. Is that not culpable negligence? Couldn't you took the gun out the door? Couldn't you call the police, the ambulance, his family, somebody? But he handed it back to him. By his own statement, he handed it back to him. All right, if he handed it back to him, is that not culpable negligence?
Yeah.
You got, oh, I'm going to shoot myself, and you get it away from him. But you hand it to him. You don't even want to load it. You just hand it back to him loaded. You think he changed his mind? There's your manslaughter by culpable negligence. That's what I want to charge him with. Can you put somebody standing in that bathtub holding a pistol upside down, shooting him?
Unlikely.
No.
No,
Standing in
that's
front
very
of him
rare.
holding it like this?
No.
That's the only scenario that fits.
Okay.
And if you take him, he's the same height I am. If you set him on the toilet, just like me, I've sat on the toilet and I've held that gun here. It goes in here, it goes out there, it hits right there. There's a stud right next to that light switch. It bounces back in that bathtub.
Was there any forensics done on that defect in the wall? I mean, did they take a sample? Did they determine?
They was photographed it, and I think what was in the end of the projectile.
Yeah.
It was significant,
It was
was
found in the
bouncing
tub.
off the wall.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that fits.
Okay. What about the blood spatter? Did it appear there was cleanup?
Sure.
Or
The thing about it is, it's not hard. If you shot in the temple, you die right there. You die there. You don't die over on the bathtub.
well, wasn't
but
he shot more towards
right here,
the-
right here.
behind his ear?
He was shot in the side of the head.
Okay.
Okay, and the gun was turned up like this.
Okay.
So I think, and it's just like Whitley. She was sitting in the apartment, and she was asleep. And of course, when Swearinger come back, he goes upstairs and finds him, and comes back and wakes her up, and then that's when it all starts. How are you going to sleep through a 45 gunshot in a little small apartment like that, but the guy walks in and just wakes you up?
Yeah.
It ain't possible.
It would have awakened probably
It-
several buildings.
It would have woke up a lot, but there's no way anybody was asleep in an apartment.
Yeah.
It ain't possible.
What about the mattress being ripped up?
I don't have an answer for that. I don't know about the mattress being
Do you know
ripped
anything
up.
about knives and hemodent or hematics samples on blood residue on two knives?
I don't know about knives, bless them. Nobody's enlightened me with that.
Okay. What about video surveillance at the bank where Dylan tried to gain access to his account?
Yeah, they got them right there in front of the counter trying to.
But
Sure.
video surveillance
Mhm.
as opposed to still photos or
Well, what I saw was a still image, but
from a video?
from a video.
Okay.
But he was standing right there trying to get his money. I think he was dead already.
Do you think we'd have any luck at getting access to the 911 calls or any records of the case?
I don't know that. I don't have them. If I had them sitting right here, all I do is ask that man, but just sitting there, could you have them? He said, yeah, you can. If he said no, then you can't. I mean, I'm over the detectives now. I'm just a captain here. The chief of police is in charge of that. He would make that decision. But we don't even have the case filed anymore, so that would be more so, I would say, the district attorney or the attorney general's office, because they have the case now.
So is it out of your hands, out of MPD's hands, so to speak?
Well, as the last word I got, the DA there took the case and they turned it over to that agency, and it is their case now.
Okay. The MBI, they put that little research team focus group.
That was the most ridiculous
Whatever you wanna call it.
garbage I've ever seen, because the MBI, they going to investigate it, and they take their stuff and they have some class somewhere and they use it for a class project. Are you serious? And they come up with a bigger theory than the JFK magic bullet. That bullet run all over that bathroom, in, out, wall, tub. That's how the gun flew. I mean, that's how the bullet flew. And they come up with this tub, wall, here, there, with nothing to back it up. Not a mark on the tub, not a mark anywhere except where that bullet hit that wall right there.
So
Where they come up with that is the most bizarre thing in the world. You know, he died on that toilet. He was pulled over in that bathtub. That gun obviously wasn't in its place where that shot went off, because when a gunshot goes off in your skull at 45, you are dead right there. You don't get up and move over and hang your head in the tub and stick the gun right in front of your thigh. That's not hard.
do you think he was lured into the bathroom? Or do you think at any time it could have been premeditated, that they were out to do this?
No, I think he was in another one of his spells where
Distraught?
his woman was going to cut him loose, and he done this number before. If you do this, I'll shoot myself. In their own statement. And I think they give the gun back to him. I think that started up again. They took the gun from him one time. When he tried it this time, they didn't have the same results. Then once that happened, it's over in the tub. You get his wallet. You go try to get his money. You call it in as a suicide.
Okay. All right, a Kimber 45. That was a handgun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know what the
Same thing as a government 1911
right.
Colt. Same basic.
So I don't know what the velocity of the projectile would be. I'd have to.
Less
look
than
it up.
1,000 feet a second, like 900 something
Right.
cute.
But if it were to go in the temple, out the other side of his head, it would have penetrated with enough velocity to go into, if he were in the bathtub, let's say, it would have ripped up some tile, wouldn't you say?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, look
If it
at
ripped
that. Look at that. Look,
Yeah.
that's a big slug.
Yeah. It
If
is.
it had went into the head and through the head in the tub, it blew a hole in the bottom of the fiberglass bathtub. If it had been through the head and the towel, it would have hit the towel. It went through here, out here, and hit that stud in the wall. Hadn't hit the stud, it went right on through the wall.
And
It hit that stud and bounced back.
And that's the point I'm trying to make. If it made that damage in the stud, in the wall, and the stud,
Mhm.
it had enough penetration power to go through fiberglass. If the angle were different, let's say if he
The
wasn't.
angle's not different.
I know. I'm just saying hypothetically, if he were in the bathtub.
It blow a hole in the tub. It's
Exactly.
a fiberglass tub.
Right. Okay.
Easily. Very easily. The bullet would have went in his head, come out here, it would have done expanded, it would have blew a crater in that bathtub. It wouldn't be a scratch.
Going through the head didn't slow it up a whole lot.
Not a bit.
Yeah.
Not enough to even be appreciable. That stud's what's loaded up in that wall.
Understand there was blood on the outside, the exterior side of the bathroom door.
Well, you got EMTs in there, they handling, they dealing with it. It's a bloody scene, bloody hem, it's a tight spot. They get blood on them.
So that's legitimate. It could have happened that
Mhm.
way. Did you observe or notice or hear about any cleanup or later tests of luminol?
I heard that the Knox report did some kind of testing. And I know that they, in their testing, they said there was a cleanup over there. Now, I never got to talk to them. I'd still like to. But do I feel like there was cleanup over there? Yeah, I do. There's a gunshot wound to the head right there sitting beside that sink, and the sink on this side, tub on that side, there's a gunshot wound to the head. Yeah, somebody's done some cleanup. I saw that from the crime scene pictures.
What about Bilbo's son, Hayes?
I think he's dead now, drug overdose.
That's what I understand. Do you think he was involved in any aspect of this?
They're young kids, a lot of them full with drugs, but was he involved? I got nothing puts him there, nothing that can support that. The only ones I know were there was Whitley and Swearinger. As far as I don't know, I can't prove it. As far as was Bilbo's son involved in it, I can't put him there.
Well, just trying to connect the dots and try to put a logical theme to why this case wasn't pursued by the DA. My question is, well, was the DA trying to protect his son?
I can't explain to you why a case is not pursued by the DA, because I've had cases where police shoot an unarmed guy in the back, not pursued. I got a cop down there getting a big TV from Best Buy, forging a credit app, and it wasn't pursued because he's a good baseball player in high school. I've got a cop that is chasing this guy in an unmarked car, not supposed to be. The police had already got him stopped, and he tries to drive around him, and he unloads. He shoots several times on the side of his vehicle. Didn't prosecute that. Why he doesn't prosecute things, I don't know. I mean, I'm not part of the political arena. I don't know. I don't understand his thinking. Do I think he's let stuff go that should have been prosecuted? Sure. Everybody that works in this business always thinks a DA let something go that should have been prosecuted. But this here, what his motives were, I don't know, because I worked the case. I was right up to the point of I thought I was going to the grand jury with it, and right before time for me to go to the grand jury with it, he kicks it over to the Attorney General's office. But I know the investigator for the Attorney General's office asked would I mind coming over there with her. I was more familiar with the case she was, and kind of co-present it.
Right.
Not a problem. I never was allowed to go there. I don't know.
You weren't. Who didn't allow you to go there?
They didn't have me on it. They wasn't involved in it. The DA's office, they didn't need me.
So the DA made that choice, but
It's their choice. They could have had me over there easy. They could have had me. They could have had Brad too. They could have had everybody that was on the same time. But they had her. She's a former deputy sheriff that went to work for the Attorney General's office. I don't know what her investigation background is, but she presented it. And what was said, what was presented, I don't know.
so you don't even know what she presented.
There's no way I can know. Grand jury's closed room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what she presented.
Gee whiz.
I don't know. It's how you present it. I don't know what she presented. And they didn't let me present my theory. Because I was having a conversation with him just before it got kicked over to the Attorney General's office, and I said, well, at least we can agree he was sitting on the toilet when the shot went. And he was, how do you figure that? And like I told him, how do you not figure that? Just like I told you before I ever saw you on the phone, before you come over here, if anybody can come up with a theory different from what I told you, I'm not perfect and I'm not know everything, but by all means, show me.
No, I appreciate it. That's how I am when I approach.
Well, it's just like they hired this lawyer up in Madison, and she had her little investigator guy that was working with that lawyer, and according to them, it's a shoot 'em on the ground murder. I made a trip all the way over there, and I told them, show me how it's a shoot 'em on the ground murder. What you got? And they want to know what I got. I thought, well, I'm not the one that got to shoot him on the ground murder. Because she told me what a great prosecutor she was in Rankin County, and he was former Jackson PD, whatever. And I thought, well, if you all that, show me. I haven't seen it yet. And then they hired, it's bizarre to me, the guy works over at the district attorney's office. His brother run a gun store here in town, and he had a fellow working for him that used to be a patrolman here too, went over to Iraq to work at security stuff. They hired them, the Androcchios hired them as private investigators. Neither one of them have no background investigating anything, so they cloud up the case for their crap. And the thing that's the most bizarre for me is this MBI, they go over there and do their investigating, then they take it down somewhere and make a classroom project out of it, some class, and really make an ass out of it. So
I read their report, and I got sick reading it. Just the process.
I did too. I said, this is the state. This is
the elite.
That's right. And that's supposed to be like the Marines of investigating. They're supposed to be, and they came up with that. I didn't get it.
Well, is it?
The guy, where is it Brett too? Is that how you're pronouncing it?
He works here. He's not full-time basis now, but he's in and out working here. I don't think he's working today, but he is still employed here. You could,
Reach out to him.
Do you have any controversies with any of the people that worked on the case before you, or in your professional differences in regards to what you're theorizing?
I mean, I work internal affairs here, but do I have any issues with them that were working at the time? No. I think they were, when this chief came in at that time, and he may have been meaning well, but this place pretty much got turned upside down, because I've worked homicide cases, I've worked cold cases, I've worked all that, but I wasn't working any of that. He had me in a room back here in the back of the building doing just internal affairs only. So I wasn't in that loop.
And what was the cause for that? Why would a chief take someone with such great experience, such as you?
I can't answer why other people do what they do, but that's where I was when this case happened. I was doing that back there. I wasn't on the scene. I wasn't involved with it. Didn't have anything to do with any of this.
So again, tell me why did you get involved in this?
Because he asked me to when he come back to work.
And why did he ask you to?
Because the Androcchios wanted somebody to look at it. I think Jerry Brad too worked on it prior to me, and I don't think he communicated well with the Andrachios for whatever reason, and then it made it to me. And I worked on it till I was ready for present it to the grand jury, and just before time for the grand jury, the DA made the decision on his own. Matter of fact, I was standing down there talking to the municipal judge here in his office, and the DA was talking to him on the phone, on speakerphone, and he was discussing the fact that, you know, what I'd come up with and all that. And the DA told him that I just create the facts as I go. I took offense to it then, took offense to it, I do it now.
Create the facts as you go.
I was just creative. In other words, he didn't like how I feel like this went, so I'm just creating the facts as I go. See, he didn't know I was standing listening to that. But I don't. Only thing I do is I let the facts guide me. I don't guide the facts. And as far as if it's the Andrachios or whoever it is, I just try to get from point A to point B. And that's the way I do all my cases. And yeah, I took offense to that, still do. But you can pretty much talk to anybody around here as far as cases I work, whether it's internal affairs, whether it's this. I don't care who's involved. It's what happened. What happened? And I've got all the nasty little emails from Mrs. Andrachio how I must be corrupt and taking payoffs just like the rest of them, and I don't get that because I spent a lot of time working on that case.
How does that make you feel?
Well, it just makes me feel like, you know, I did all this work, you know, to try to bring closure to the. I mean, I've been there. I got a son, 2008. I went and peeled him up off the side of the road in Garden City, Louisiana. You know, I understand their loss. I tried to get it to the grand jury. I wanted to present it to the grand jury. That decision was made by a politician, a district attorney, to take it away from me and give it to Miss Ward. I'd like to know how many death cases she ever worked. Love to know that. How many cold cases she ever worked. I'm not the know-it-all of everything, but I do know where he was sitting. I do know he had that gun in his hand. And I feel like there was, in that argument, again, like there was when he first got there, and somebody tried to reach out and get the gun away from him again, and it didn't work out that time. Then from that, it was clean up, cover up, get money, because he was the cash cow there. It was clean up, cover up, get money out of it, and all that. That's how it went. This ain't like the Kennedy assassination. This ain't that hard of a case. Oh, well, Whitley slept through it. No, she didn't. Nobody slept through a 45 gunshot. But she slept through the gunshot wound in the apartment. Well, when he got back, wake up, Whitley, did like that. Run up there and find him. But you didn't hear the gunshot. That's a lie right there. You know, when he was down there trying to get that money out of that bank, I believe he was already dead then. They just want to get, you know, he's on his way to the other side. We'll get his cash. But see, they waited till the statute of limitations had run out on tampering with the scene, tampering with evidence. Could charge them that. 3 years done expired. Time I got it, the statute done run on that.
So can anything be done now in regards to charges?
Manslaughter by culpable negligence. I don't know how long the statute is on
That's what
that.
I'm curious.
That's what you'd have to ask that question. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay.
You know, the thing that's frustrating, Ms. Andrachio, she wants a murder. She wants murder. She don't want nothing else but a murder. Just like I said, you know, manslaughter by culpable negligence, from what I understand, is that's not acceptable. She wants murder. I told her, you know, the Crown's got to get the case. You know, the case can't fit what you want. I can't give you a murder if it ain't a murder.
So she knows what you were stating, that
I would think she would know by now that there was questions. Well, one was a murder warrant at first, and then it was. The reason for that is it's with DAs, especially that one that was there at the time. You got to shoot with your highest charge, and if it does go through, he'll plead back to this. If you shoot with what you want it to be, and he rolls it down from there, then it's just out the door. So you got to shoot high with your charge and let him plead down to that, because it's all about let's make a deal, right?
Yeah.
But see, they can't understand why was it a murder charge first, and then it was this. Well, it was just because of all my years of dealing with him, you got to shoot high, then let him roll it back to a manslaughter.
Sure.
If you shoot it, but manslaughter, there's nowhere to roll it to then. So with him, you got to shoot high. That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Shoot high, and then let him
That's
take my
what
back.
we
Let
all-
him make the decision to roll it back to manslaughter. Well, that wasn't acceptable. So I just manslaughter by culpable negligence, tampering with the crime scene. Whether you can still get any time for it or not, they could prove that they tampered with the scene. That's a no-brainer there.
Yeah.
Because if you shot through the brain with a .45, you're not going to put that pistol nowhere else. You can look at his hand. If you look at somebody that commits suicide with a death as instant, you work many of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you shooting death as instant, even though they get the gun out of hand, what's the normal that you see with the hand? It's normally pretty much in the shape that it was when he died.
Fired.
Okay, look at his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Look at his hand in the picture. He was holding it. I think Whitley went to grab it, or Swearinger. It went off. They rolled him over in the bathtub. That's where he's bleeding at. They cleaned up over here, and this is over here. You get that wallet out of his pocket. He's been in perfect position to get the wallet because he ain't laying like this and shot himself in the head. They got that wallet out of his pocket. They took his bank card and went to try to get his money. They didn't have his PIN number, so they didn't get it.
Yeah.
So we got a suicide.
What about the gun? The placement of the gun, decocking the gun.
That is, I have a problem with patrol officers here all the time. And if you've worked around them, like you know too, and when they roll up on the scene, what's the first thing they're going to do? We're going to make it safe. We're going to make it safe. Now they think because they're be in trouble on account of this case, nobody's. But the first thing the police are going to do, grab it and make it safe. Even though if you don't pull that trigger, it is safe. If you just leave it alone, it's safe, right? Make a big circle around it and don't let nobody in, it's safe. But police are going. They do it now. Barehanded. Every once in a while you have the luxury they'll put on gloves, but a lot of times cops, they going to clear the gun.
Well, what about the placement of it? It was found on his left side by his knee between the tub.
Mm-hmm.
That is not, that was put there on purpose.
Sure. And I think whenever he first shot himself, the one that done this, they put it there. Now, that may be GSR on Swearinger's hands. It may be from him clearing it and putting it over there. I can't explain it to you.
I agree.
I do know it's not where it was when it killed him, and it was put there by somebody else. Well, he had GSR on his hands. Whitley had GSR on his hands. If you reach that gun, it goes off. You got GSR on your hands. If you do this number here and stick it over there, you're going to have GSR on your hands. That explains the GSR on their hands.
Sure.
Now, did the police make it? I don't know.
What about?
Well, I know that somebody put it there to try to make it look like he shot himself right there. I would say in my own mind that that would be, I don't know how physically able Whitley is, but I don't know how she knows about clearing guns, but she could do it. As far as dragging him over out of that tub, I think she's really too small for that. I think Swearinger would be more your candidate for drug him over into the tub like that got his billfold.
What about inconsistent statements of the witnesses, or Whitley, Dillon? Do you know much about that?
I've heard what little bit they've said, and I know by the fact that she was asleep and he woke me up, to tell me he found him. I knew right there that's a lie. If she was laying in bed asleep, and when Swearinger got back, because he left after he took the gun from him and gave it back to him, then he left and made this loop around, and he comes back and he goes and finds her. He just shakes her and wakes her up and lets her know he done blew his brains out, but he slept right through it. And all that's a lie. It's a lie. They know what happened to him. They was there. She surely was. She never left. She was there the whole time. She knows what happened. Now, whether or not she tried to get that gun or Swearinger was going to try to get that gun again, it went off. One of them did, and it went off. And they could have just let it go with that. It's an accident. But then you go from dragging him over here, moving the pistol over here, getting his wallet, go try to get you some money, and go, then you've made it worse. If you said, he done this earlier and we tried to get the gun from him and give it back to him, he done it again, this time it went off, leave him sitting there on the toilet, leave his wallet alone, leave him lay right there on the toilet like he was, it'd been fine. When you start dragging him around and moving guns and all that, then that's when you put this, it could be this, it could be that.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. look at all the messages when he's coming home. That's why he jumped off the boat on his issues with her, and he gets there and he's threatening this. And got the gun away from him in his own statement. Well,
So
I couldn't take the gun with me, so I just give it back to him. Do you believe that?
So you think he was suicidal?
I don't know if he was suicidal or if he was running a bluff trying to get her to stay with him. He might have been running a bluff, but when you go to grab that gun, he tightened up. Do I think he intended to shoot himself? No. I think he was running that, oh, I love you, leave me, I'm going to shoot me, that stuff all over again. When they went to reach for it that time, it went off. They went into the old shit mode then, pardon the expression, and that's when he got drug over there and all this other stuff.
So how do you think, let's say, and I don't dispute, I support your theory, I really do. Let's say, let's back it up a few frames.
Sure.
When does he get in? He gets into the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
He's acting a certain way. He has it in his mind what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Where is Dylan? Where is Whitney in your mind at the time before he's sitting on the toilet doing that?
Well,
Or is he sitting on the toilet and they come in?
he's throwing his fit about her not leaving and all this, and he goes in the bathroom. He's sitting there, and and one of them trying to come there and convince him, not to do this. He come all the way home because he had troubles with her.
Right.
And then earlier in the evening, he was threatening this. And I'm sure you can have these verbal altercations that go all over the house, but he walked there and sat down on that toilet and done that, just like he did in the living room. Was it her standing in front of him trying to grab it, or was it Dylan that tried to grab it?
Well, do you think it could have been where that he really didn't do that in the living room, but they're saying he did it in the living room, but it all happened upstairs?
Well,
they're making up the story that...
I don't know that, but even whether he did or didn't do it, him saying he did it and saying you got the gun away from him, and you saying, well, I had to leave, but I couldn't take it with me. You can take his bank card with all the money he's got in the world, but you can't take his pistol with you. He wasn't hurt himself with a bank card, but by your own statement, you're saying he'd done it before. Well, he did it in the bathroom, so it could be true. But you get it away from him. You don't even unload it, but you're gonna hand it back to him. No, he's in that mental state.
Do you have a meeting shortly?
I'm supposed to have, according to the chief, the Andracchio, the district attorney. I think she's supposed to be over here to talk about it.
About the Andracchio case?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's
Interesting
good
timing.
news.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Well, I just know the Andracchio's been on this. This lady's got appointed as DA, and she's running for office, so they're trying to.
What is her name?
Cassie Coleman.
Coleman.
We
I
saw
saw
signs.
So they're trying to get her to do something, but she told me out of her own mouth, unless there is something new developed, can bring it back up.
Okay. I thought it was interesting the chief was in here when we
Well, that's his wife. His wife happens to be the secretary for